はい、こんにちは、ジャパンデジタルアセットアソシエーション、日本デジタルアセット協会の飯塚です。本日はですね、ロンドン、イギリスのロンドンをベースにデジタル証券の取引プラットフォームを構築するアーチャックスさんの CEO、グラハムさんに、インタビューをさせていただきます。本日はよろしくお願いいたします。
That basically says, so my name is Fumi from a Japan Digital Asset Association. And so we would like to start with a introduction. So could you please start introducing yourself and why you came into the security token market and why you started this Archax?
Sure. So I'm Graham, the CEO of Archax. I've spent the last 20 years working in asset management and banks. Most recently, I was at a hedge fund called Omni Partners in London. It's a $1.5 billion hedge fund. We had a variety of investment strategies. And when the crypto market started taking off in 2017, we thought that there was a need for an institutional asset manager in the space. So while we were there, we explored launching an institutional hedge fund. And what we found was that actually the infrastructure in the space just wasn't really set up to deal with a true institutional party. So with that in mind, myself, I was the COO there, the CFO and the CTO, we all decided to leave and set up an exchange focused on institutions. And what that means for us is not just targeting institutional clients, but also building the whole operation to serve institutions. And we decided along that journey that security tokens are much more appropriate investments than for institutions than say utility tokens would be.
So you're only targeting institutions primarily for now, but is there a plan to expand your service to retail in the future?
I think the plan at the moment is definitely to focus on institutions. So we're looking at and that can mean different things to different people. So for us, it means banks, asset managers, family offices, brokers, and maybe accredited investors on the platform as well. We'd like to open it up to retail. However, retail offerings require a whole different skill set. We don't necessarily think that institutions want to be involved in exchanges which readily give access to retail. We think it's probably more appropriate for now to have retail aggregation platforms or brokers facing off against our exchange.
Okay, thank you. So let's start with STO. So we basically follow lots of US what's going on in US market, and we don't really know much about UK market. So in UK, do you think a capital raising through security token offering will be a basically a significant portion of capital raising in the future? And you think it's gonna get more people coming to or use STO to raise funds?
So I guess long term, yes, absolutely. I think with if we just draw parallels with the ICO community, regardless of how successful those projects were or what the underpinning value is, I think what it demonstrated was that there's a whole generation of people, or several generations of people that would like to be more entrepreneurial, would like to explore capital markets, and having access to global markets of this nature makes it quite compelling as a new form of funding or funding of venture. So I think there's always appetite there to raise money. On the investor side, I think security tokens will start to get more attention in the future. There aren't that many live tokens that have raised all of their money so far, but as the knowledge of digital securities increases, guys like you are putting the work in to improve education. I think over time, when people are given the option, will I take the equity or will I take the security, the digital security, then they'll choose the digital security. The reason for that is that the digital security is really no different from a traditional security. It just has the benefit of having a stronger underlying technology that makes it more flexible, improves the operational efficiencies, and gets rid of the friction in the traditional market. So this is all about education, and it will grow over time.
Okay, so obviously it's not one of the objective for a STO is to increase liquidity and private placements. Once that private placements or private offerings, once that liquidity increases, what do you think is gonna be the impact to the public market? Do you have any sort of expectations on that?
Yeah, I think so. Where it will start gaining traction initially is in the illiquid markets, or in markets that are underserved by public markets. So if public markets, you mean more the larger primary exchanges out there, I think at the moment it's probably not as attractive for them to offer illiquid and these smaller niche opportunities on their markets. But the benefits of digital securities hold true for small companies and for blue chip companies as well. And over time, as we see, companies of increasing size using digital securities, the confidence will increase and the market infrastructure will increase as well. So I think there's no reason to think that public markets couldn't be run using digital securities in the future. And that's absolutely where we see it heading.
Okay. Is London Stock Exchange LSE, are they seeing the current trend in the security token offering a favorable, or are they trying to expand the technology called foundation to the blockchain based? I don't know. Are they trying to move away from current technology to new technology, like tokenization? What do you think on that?
Yeah, so we obviously don't know exactly what they're doing at the London Stock Exchange, but they're a well thought after company. They're well respected in the industry, and they're absolutely looking into the space. Last week, it was announced that they'd led an investor round in a company in London called Navora, who absolutely operate in this space. One of the best companies we've met in the blockchain space so far. And so obviously they're investing, they're looking at them, and they're taking it seriously. They probably aren't looking to move in a big way in the short term, but like all of the decent larger companies, they'll operate units to explore the possibility that this disrupts them in the future.
Okay, thank you. So let's move on to regulations. So
Sure.
FCA, financial. Okay, I'm not sure what stands for FCA.
Conduct. Yeah. Financial Conduct Authority.
Financial Conduct Authority. Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
So, what we saw in US, SEC seems to be quite favorable to the current movement, of a security token offering, because there's going to be a lot more efficient. There's going to be a lot more efficiency in the KYC processes, and most of the current process will be automated. What do you think? What do you think, or how do you think FCA sees current trend that blockchain will, tokenize, or blockchain technology will bring to the current securities trading?
Yeah, so I guess I'm probably biased because I'm from the UK, but it's always been our intention at Archax to stay in the UK. We think it's got a favourable regulatory regime. It's the fintech hub of the world and one of the financial centres, so it makes sense for the FCA to stay in front of this. They've released quite a lot of thought pieces so far, and around a month ago they released a consultation paper which discussed openly the differences between what they call exchange tokens, utility tokens, and securities. And they very much see security tokens as securities. They very much think that marketing a security token is the same as marketing a security. Running a trading venue for security tokens is like running a trading venue for securities. So they very much see this as just a new technology with the same underpinning regulation. Now they recognise that there may be some times when the regulation needs to be amended slightly to cope with the new technology and the new changes that are in place. But it's absolutely the case that a large portion of those rules and regulations are applicable to this world. So in that respect, it's very much the same as the SEC. I don't think that position has ever changed really in the UK. And certainly we've been on this journey for over a year now. And throughout, we always were taking the approach that we're going to market these securities, we're going to follow the financial promotions rules, and that stood us in good stead so far. So our application is going into the FCA now to be a regulated securities venue in the UK, and we think we're one of the first to do it for digital securities.
Oh, hope that goes through.
Thank you.
So, this is going to be an interesting question I would like to ask. if you could change one regulation, what would you change in UK?
Sure.
In this,
I need I need to be careful because there are some that I changed, but I'd rather not talk about at the moment because
okay.
they're things that we found which which present some issues. I guess throughout. I guess regulation in general could be a bit easier to understand.
Mhm.
Going through an application process is quite difficult anyway, and when you start doing it for frontier technology, it becomes even more difficult. So I think increasing the guidance, increasing the education, all of those things are useful. I think personally, I'm very favourable for regulation. So it's very much the case that if something falls outside of the regulator's remit, then it doesn't get regulated. But if I look at utility tokens, I think there are a lot of retail type people that were investing for speculative reasons that probably it would have probably been useful for them if there had been some protections in place. So not for everyone. So I guess maybe a wider reaching. Actually, so I guess what I'm saying is I'd rather have more regulation than less.
Yes, yeah, that's what I understood from your comment.
Yeah.
So in that case, is basically US people use regulation D, Reg D, Reg S, and so on and so forth. In UK, what kind of regulations, or if there's any like exemptions that firms can use to raise capital through security token offerings?
Yeah, well, I'm not a lawyer, obviously, but forgetting the name of the form, the principle is the same in pretty much every country in the world. In that, if you're marketing a security, then there are certain people you can market to and certain things that you must say. And what I mean by who you can say it to is whether they're professional, whether they're intermediaries of some kind, whether they're institutions, whether they're retail. And when I say what you can say, that means whether it be in a disclaimer, whether it be in any financial promotion, or whether you need some sort of offering document or prospectus. So the UK is the same. If you want to market to retail, you can. You just have to spend a lot of money getting an appropriate prospectus, appropriate disclosures in place to be able to do that. Most people choose not to do that. Most people will have a more appropriately geared document towards the markets they're targeting. And then obviously when you look at that, then there are various exemptions, such as the types of people that you're marketing to and the number of people that you're marketing to.
Okay, so it's almost similar to the US regulations, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's pretty true globally. It's certainly true across most of Europe, and when we're talking to third parties in foreign jurisdictions about how we market our security into those jurisdictions, you always need to take legal advice really and understand the local rules.
Okay, what do you think about maybe this is off topic, right? But MiFID II, do you think that has any effect on security token offering, especially in Europe and UK?
Well, some of the MiFID II rules we're taking into account in our venue. So, for example, depackaging the costs, so make sure every cost is broken out separately. That's one of the biggest things that we're taking into account. I think all of the rules that apply to the security markets apply pretty much to security tokens as well.
Okay, thanks. So this is my question. If is there any projects, STO projects, that actually has caught your attention and seems interesting project? Do you know any project that's in your mind? I mean.
Well, I don't know about out of the UK. So I guess we've met a lot of projects so far. We've met a lot of tokenizers or token issuance platforms, and within that, I'd say that we're seeing a lot of interest around tokenization of property, tokenization of hedge funds and private equity secondaries, and then SME tokenization as well. So we're meeting very interesting projects across the board. I guess one that really stands out for us recently is that BTG Pactual has announced out of Brazil that they're doing a 15 million distressed real estate offering. which is interesting for a couple of reasons. So firstly, it's in an emerging market and it's real estate, which is, almost a perfect use case for a security token. And secondly, I think it's the first case of an investment bank themselves backing a security token. So I think they're the largest investment bank in South America. So it's quite a big deal. So I think it's a good, it's caught my attention, not just because of the project, but also because it's, one of the first endorsed security tokens out there.
Okay, got it. So I think I'm almost out of the questions, but so if you have anything that you would like to ask us, we could try to answer. Do you have any question that you'd like to ask? It's about Japan or US.
Yeah, no. So out of Japan, is there much traction in Japan around regulation? Is it the same in terms of UK and US? It's viewed as a security. Are you seeing investors? We're actually speaking to one Japanese bank that look interested in maybe exploring the space, but just getting a general feeling of investor appetite and project appetite out of Japan will be interesting for us. Would you recommend to us that Japan is a place where we should be actively looking for issuers of projects and looking for potential investment managers to trade on our platform? I guess would be of interest to us.
Okay, so it's my personal opinion, and I'm not first of all lawyer or investment banker, so that's the disclaimer I have to say before I say this. Okay, so yes, I have seen lots of projects, lots of companies that trying to raise money in Japan, Japanese firms. I'm not gonna name particular ones because I cannot. But I see several, probably more than 10 projects that has trying to do STO and they trying to raise capital. However, the regulations in Japan specifically defines what digital token is, if that makes sense. So tokenization of asset, the STO, tokenized securities, will be under the regulation that purpose is to regulate cryptocurrencies because it's technically it's a token. So, but now the issue is the digital token is a security same time. So now you have two different regulations that has to cope with. So people, and especially the lawyers, and I have seen, they say it's difficult at this point for Japanese firm to conduct STO right now. So there's some I have seen they try to go overseas to do STO, maybe found a company and do STO. But doing STO in Japan will be quite difficult right now until the Financial Service Agency comes up with a new regulation or different regulation from the past ones. But there are lots of appetite. I have seen a lot of people asking us sometimes and asking lots about the people about security token offerings. If that makes sense.
Yeah, great. And how about in terms of investors and hedge funds and investment managers? Do you think they'd be willing to explore investing in security tokens when they're there?
So investors, right now, I think investment managers, as long as it's good investments, they will invest in. That's the situation, I think. They're not gonna invest in because it's a STO. It has to be a good investment. I think if it's good investment, they will invest in if it's STO, if it's equity, if it doesn't. I don't think they care if it is tokenized or not. So there is an interest. However, I think it really depends on the deal and the quality of the deal. Okay, that's a lot of issuing platform, by the way.
Yes, it's huge, and I think part of the reason is, well, I think there are two reasons. One, if you're going to disrupt the traditional financial markets, then it's quite an attractive place to try and disrupt because you're competing with investment banks and you can potentially take a share of issuances. That's why some people are in the space. And the second is that everyone that was doing ICO advisory before has no ICO advisory business anymore, and they flipped over to STO advisory. You know, some for the right reasons and some for the wrong reasons.
But STO is a completely different market.
Oh, I agree completely, which is why, you know, some of the people in the STO advisory space shouldn't be there. We agree completely. They're totally different markets. They require mostly a different skill set, but there are some skills that maybe are interchangeable. Right.
And because it's STO, all the reporting and all legal costs, it's gonna be a lot higher. So you gotta have a team. We gotta have one thing I keep telling to these STO guys who wants to do STO consulting is you gotta have a team of accountants, lawyers who's good at securities law, and not only lawyers in one jurisdiction, but other jurisdictions as well, if they want to oversee. That's what I keep telling. So I keep telling it's gonna be difficult unless you have a team of experts.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, it's going to be very difficult. This really is trying to break down all of the barriers of global financial markets. So if we're, you know, for an example, we might be looking at a Cayman issuance, a Cayman vehicle run by a US company listed on our platform in the UK, being sold to participants from Japan. So you've got a whole host of issues to consider there when you're considering that whole value chain.
Okay, that makes sense. Got it. Well, thank you for your time. And
no, thanks for having me. It's been really good.
Yeah, was it good?
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your time, and we hope we talk to you again. And
thanks very much. Nice to meet you.